And welcome to Fox News Sunday Panel Plus with Kim Strassel, Liz Marlantes, Chip Saltsman, and Juan Williams. And we're going to talk about Antonin Scalia and what I frankly thought was a fascinating interview, the first half of our show. And, you know, there are so many midgets walking around this town. And you can agree with Antonin Scalia or you can disagree, but he is a legal giant. He's a towering intellect. He is an original. And what I thought, listening, talking to him, engaging, what a treat it was to spend a half an hour with him that way. Me kind of hectoring a Supreme Court justice the way he does with the lawyers in the court was such a treat.
You're honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, and as he said, for 26 years. I mean, I think what came across in that interview is that not just a legal giant, but who has had a profound impression on the court. That there will be entire, generations in the future that talk about this period where he was writing these opinions with this particular view that he explained very well on the show. Yeah, it was remarkable.
Your thoughts and about this divide, Liz, between the originalists, as he would put it, who stick and the textualists who stick to the text and what the text meant at the time it was written. That's what the originalist part of it is, and what he called the purposivists, who are trying to find some purpose that in the law, which may or may not have anything to do with the words as specifically written.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's clearly been the leading voice on the other side in terms of his opinions and his willingness from the bench even to elaborate, which some of the other more conservative justices are famously more reticent. I think Scalia has really been the voice of that side. And I just wonder, watching an interview like that, whether it is still hard for him not to get into some of the politics. He knows he can't, and he didn't, although you tried to get him to. But, there was so much speculation as to whether there was a rift developing between him and Roberts and what that all meant. And it just was fun to watch because obviously he didn't give anything away, but it must be difficult.
Well, he did to the extent, and I was amazed that, I mean, it is what he said in his dissent, but I was saying to him, because there is this canon in his book, and it's a tough book, but I must say it's very interesting, and anything written by Antonin Scalia is worth reading. And in it, he talks about the textualist idea, and he has these 57 canons, sound principles for judging, and number 38 is the idea, don't pick a fight with the legislature unless you have to. Try to find a way to say that the law is constitutional, not look for ways to say it's unconstitutional. I said, well, isn't that what Judge Roberts did? And he said, no, because you can't say a pig is a penalty. I mean, basically, he was saying you can't just make up things. And he thinks clearly that Roberts saying that the mandate is a tax is just language that the law, the Obamacare law, doesn't bear.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, so it's hard to kind of comment on one of my heroes. But, I think what he was saying today, and you could tell that he definitely wanted to weigh in. There was a few moments where his arms were crossed and he was visibly biting his tongue a little bit. You did a good job. I wanted him to go so bad I couldn't stand it. My favorite line was, I never criticized the president publicly. So my job is to make sure I have a meeting with him privately to see what he really thinks. But I also love, let me just interrupt for a second to say, when I said, were you threatened by what he said when he went out in the Rose Garden, the president, and said this would be unprecedented? Yeah. And he said, no, what can he do to me? Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you asked him if he thought he was cantankerous a little bit. I like my Supreme Court justices just a little crusty and cantankerous, and I think he's the definition of both. So I thought it was a great interview, and like I said, I'm a fan, so it's hard for me to almost think I'm commenting on one of my heroes. So.
Well, I thought it was a fascinating interview. For example, this business about privacy, that he doesn't believe that there's any privacy in the Constitution, and he, says, well, you have a right to your house, your belongings, your papers, but then how does it extend to wiretap? I thought it was fascinating because as you got into this conversation about originalist or purposivalist or whatever purposivist, whatever that word is, it's clear to me that he doesn't extend his thinking really beyond a very small place, which is where the Founding Fathers lived. The difference between a musket and a gun that can fire 100 rounds is huge. But for him, he wants to go back, and that's why I think he went back to the death penalty example, the difference between someone dying via hanging versus the electric chair. The other thing that caught my attention was, I forget the name of the judge who criticized him after.
Richard Posner.
Well, he says, is that a circuit court judge? Or I thought that was the best put down. That's a real your mama joke right there. Because he knows who Posner is. Come on, please.
Let me ask you one last thing, and then we got to go. But you, of course, spent a lot of time with another Supreme Court justice, Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
You wrote his autobiography. Compare the two.
Well, you know, it's interesting.
Another great legal giant.
You know what's interesting is Scalia was a fan of Marshall, and he mentions in the course of the interview with you that, in fact, he has good relations with people like Breyer, right? But here's the thing. With Marshall, he said that what impressed him was being able to sit in the room with a legal giant. And I think Marshall felt the same way about Scalia. Now, they didn't agree. But these are two guys who you'd want to have a drink with. These are two guys who are extremely honest. They will tell you what they think. And that's what you got this morning.
Well, thank you for that. And it is interesting because I said to him, can you look at an opinion you completely disagree with and say, that's a good piece of lawyering? He says, absolutely. I mean, you just enjoy the craft, the scholarship. And conversely, he said, there are sometimes decisions that are going my way, but I just think, what a bunch of applesauce this is.
That's the word of the day, applesauce.
There you go. Thank you, panel. Check in with us throughout the week and look for my Monday edition of Wallace Unplugged. You can find it at foxnewssunday.com. We'll see you right back here next Sunday.